Hello and welcome back to the podcast. This week I'm really excited to talk about something new and carry on my little theme of going to new little LARPs and things. I've got Nick and Alex here. Why don't you guys introduce yourself and tell me what you guys do?
Hi, I'm Alex. I am part of the team that is responsible for developing and launching Menhir's Fate.
Hi, I'm Nick. I'm the creative director of Menhir's Fate. And long time LARPer.
I'm so excited. If you haven't guessed, the fact that they're both here from Menhir's Fate means that is exactly what we are talking about. Brand new Fest LARP. When did you guys announce it?
Essentially at Comic-Con was when we sort of soft launched it. We're trying to develop a whole festival LARP. I think the first one in over a decade, in just over a year. So we're confident because we've got a big team of experienced people who already run LARPs. So that's certainly helped. But yeah, we've been running at a crazy pace, and one of the first opportunities we were sort of happy to talk about it was at MCM Comic-Con in London recently. I know a lot of people have seen some video of a panel we did there. We're really grateful for all the nice things people have said and the interest that generated. It's great to be talking to you about it.
Because that's where I heard about it first, was on Hefty Yeti's stream with you, Nick. And I think I'm just so excited for something new in the LARP scene. But I think it goes without saying there's a lot of people creating LARPs this year, especially. I mean, I was only at Warriors of Middle-earth last week. How come you guys are deciding to do a fest LARP rather than something small scale like Warriors of Middle-earth and iLARP and things?
I think it's because there's the market for it. Like, I've been going to loads of LARP. I've been enjoying Empire for, since it started. I'm an E1 player for my sins.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I know. And I've also been doing Curious Pastimes recently and really enjoying that. Obviously, I was with you at Rome, the Lord of the Rings event, and that was really good and enjoyed that. Loads of iLARP stuff. But then every time, being part of the community and the LARP community and going to lots of different systems, we just keep hearing the same thing, that people just really want a new fest system. And we thought we can get together, find the best people within all the LARP community that we've had the pleasure of knowing and getting hold of, and put them all together as like one super troop, the Avengers of LARP, and make a brand new system.
Oh my god, that sounds amazing. How about you, Alex? Where did you start with your LARP?
So I started at Empire as well, and I started about 9 years ago now, I think. Empire was the first LARP experience I'd had. I'd obviously played tabletop and role-playing games before that, like D&D and things. I originally heard about LARPing from like a friend at the pub who went sporadically. He wasn't like a mega fan, but he'd been a few times to a few different systems, and he's like, yeah, it's really cool. Like, he was a big role player as well, and he was just like, I think you'd really like it. So I went home and had a Google, and I found Empire's website, I guess that sort of was the first thing I thought I'd give it a go. And I didn't really, I didn't build up the courage until about a year later, and a friend of mine, Mark Humes, who is the DM of High Rollers, which is quite a big D&D podcast in the UK, he said, yeah, come along, I've got a group. And I was like, amazing. So he took me there, and my first event, I was like, yeah, this is incredible. Not just a game, I love Empire. I still do, fully intend to keep playing it as well. But also just the act of LARPing and the escapism, of course, the functioning world, the want to participate in making each other have a fun time, It's a lovely experience on many levels, I don't think I've missed an Empire event yet since. No. And then also, I got into smaller LARPs as well. That was again what sort of leaning into what Nick was saying. I tried a load of smaller LARPs, and I was like, these are awesome as well for completely different reasons. So iLARP and the Feast Your Eyes guys, Johnny and Kitty. who are also part of this project.
Wow.
They are, running amazing games all the time, and all the people there who also run amazing games at their site. So Nick has ran Portents there, for example. And yeah, I was like, yeah, this is great. This is awesome. This is completely different. They have a much smaller site limit. So they run a completely different flavor of game, which I very much recommend everyone try. I was like, oh, okay, like, so yeah, I'd met Nick, I'd met those guys. I've got some other like creative partners that I've worked with in the last sort of decade on lots of other things. And I was like, yeah, we can do this. We can do something. And I spoke to, spoke to them, like, obviously with the smaller stuff, you have, like a cap ultimately on how many people those games can support, I think, is part of it. Like financially, people running these smaller games are doing God's work, because they don't do huge numbers. It's very much you can make a small living off of it, but like, yeah, we had a bunch of people that we wanted to work together with, and so we had to work out like what's form does that take, and it is a festival LARP, and also just positioning and timing wise, like there are so many good small LARPs out there right now. Go and try them, go and play them. Like we didn't necessarily want to compete in that space. We looked at what we could do with our size and our scale, and we thought, yeah, like there hasn't been a huge festival launch in a long time now in the UK. Like it's a prime time to do this. There are loads more people coming into the hobby, we hope we can come into the space and be a really good example, just like the other big festival LARPs that are already very popular.
We'll talk about the sort of the storyline and things like that. Well, not storyline, but the general details of the LARP in a second. But first, like the nitty gritty bits. Do you guys have like a site or dates that you guys can talk about yet?
So we're going to be at Bygrave Woods, which is a 7-minute drive from Baldock train station. It's just north of London. It's got really nice train routes, as well as like on a main motorway as well. So really easy to get to, but still far away enough that we're not going to hear anything.
Yeah.
Like cars, I think it is out of the way, but it's really good.
Yeah.
It's so great for that. Like it's 7 minutes from like Nick says, from huge connections, from motorways, from like it's really accessible. They've done other festivals there before, and you can see the variety of terrain. We've got a massive amount of space. We've got woods, we've got fields, we've got things within the woods as well, like different areas that we can use for battles, for rituals, for things like that. Also, there's you just look out from where you be camping, or look out from where you're standing as your character, and look across those hills and fields and things like that, and you might see the odd farm dotted in there, but it's lovely because you're not out of your immersion. You can just see fields and things like it. It doesn't. Yeah, it's a great view.
That's so exciting. I was at as we said earlier, like at Wome last week, and you don't realise just how important the site is to creating immersion and like
that
keeping yourself within that world. Oh yeah. But yeah, I just had a look at the website. It looks phenomenal. For anyone listening, I'll put all of the web links and things in our link dump, which I'll release on the Patreon for free. And at the time I released the episode, but it's insane. That is really beautiful.
It's massive as well. Like the size of the site is so big. It can support 14,999.
We're not expecting E1 to be that big.
No.
But that, like Nick says, it shows the scale and the logistical capability of the site as well, in terms of supplying all of the amenities for people too.
Yeah, we're expecting so much spare space that we don't have to worry about how big people's camping areas are. There's even like an entire field that we have the ability to use that we're probably not going to use because the site is so massive.
Wow.
It's just insanely big.
but we are planning our game space in a way that means that everybody has equal access to important venues within the game space. So we're creating it in a shape where everyone is centered around all of the interactable. We don't want one person having to walk much further than another person might to get to the same in-game service. So when we say it's huge, and people might be thinking, oh God, my feet. It just gives us space and capability. But we're being sensible in how we lay it out. So we don't, we're keeping not just accessibility in mind, but also just general sensible layout and fatigue.
That's very fair. And you said that you're going to put like the logistical heart of the game right at the center. Is that going to be like an OC area right at the center?
No, so that's going to be a completely icy area.
Wow.
So we've been looking for it, and we think that the games operation desk is sort of like a tradition, and we're kind of looking at it as going, is that actually necessary? Is it best for the game? And after having a good think about it, we decided no. We think it takes you out of character. Usually it's sort of one side. It's like a really long way for one person to walk all the way to sort out essentially admin, OC, sort of on our behalf. I think, well, if you're paying for a weekend, we'd rather make sure that you're in the action, in the game as much as possible. So we're having something, we're calling at the moment the Bankers Guild, or the Banking Guild. That name might change, but that's going to be in the centre of the city with a bunch of other guilds that do different services. And the Banking Guild is essentially our god. But it's completely in character. When you're interacting with everyone, it'll be an in-character interaction. When you're queuing, it's in character. Things can go off around you. People will be making things around you in our game, or enchanting things. And you wake up, you go to the front, you'll have an in-character passport. You go up to the front and go, oh, how can we help you? Go, I'd like to do this, please. And just go, right, no problem, can I have your documents? And you just hand over your documents, and then everything is done in sort of as much of an in-character way as possible to try and keep you into the game and in the zone for as long as we can.
Wow. And is it going to be sort of because obviously we've spoken about Empire and we all know how that runs in the fact that you've got time in Friday and then big battles Saturday and Sunday. Have you guys got a similar layout to how that weekend's going to run?
So it's going to be very similar to how most big festivals run. So you can turn up on a Thursday, set up your tent, chill out with friends, and then Friday, around the normal sort of time, 6 p.m. ish, and normal sort of cut out time being sort of 1 a.m. And then all the way up until Sunday, where we then have Sunday about 3 p.m. ish, sort of normal kind of standard LARP times. When it comes to combat, we're going to have a mix of big battles and smaller ones. So we're going to be really varied in what you're going to be able to get from each game. It won't be the same as the one before. So it's not always one half the player base versus the other half of the player base doing their monstering. It's going to be a lot more split up and varied. So you have a wider variety of battles and fight styles going on.
Oh, that's so exciting. You're such a tease, Nick. You're just dropping little bits of evidence and then you're just making me wait for longer to find out.
I think it's how Curious Pastimes does it, Nick. Is it where we're exploring the idea of doing timed slots for different nations to report to Monster? So
Curious Pastimes does that very effectively. We've made lots of good friends at Curious Pastimes. So they have time slots for their nations. So some nations have time slots together, so you have a pretty good idea that that's going to be, a big battle war commencing. And some won't be; they'll be quite separate. And say 100 people is from one nation, or 100 people coming up to Monster from one nation. But we can just split that into 4 groups of 25. That do different things, and then they can just do encounters that are happening in the main camp area instead of in like the battlefield, for example, which could be a variety of different things, which are not just kind of like combat encounters. They could be traders or other negotiators, and that will have, you know, refs and NPCs from our team in with them. But just kind of like really kind of mix up what's happening in the game world.
Let's say 100 of you report to monster from your nation, and 25 of you want to go fighting, and 25 of you would rather do something lower comm or no comm. We want to give people the opportunity to take those lower comm and no comm roles and have some fun still. So, like, you know, again, inspired by the way people run games and how ILARP and Feast Your Eyes run their crew and things like that, like, we've listened to people when they talk about their monstering experiences at big LARPs, and often it's the silly fun roles, like the ones that aren't just like, don't get me wrong, everyone loves a bash, and I'm not going to stop people from doing that either, but also like when you get the silly bizarre little cultist apprentice roles, or like caravan guard, like watching this bizarre trade happening or whatever, like, you know, all these different things happening, we can give people those roles so they can have a bit of fun and some different stories to tell, maybe from their berry picking or however we explain it.
Oh, that sounds so exciting, because that would then encourage people to sort of engage in not only their own personal story but in building other people's story around it, right?
Yeah. It drives that. I think that separates an experienced LARPer from a new LARPer in a lot of ways, in that, like, you understand that you're trying to make it fun for the other person, especially when you're playing the role of a throwaway character, because it means you can then just put the entire existence of that little character into making the adventurer, as we're going to call players, or what someone might call a hero in this scenario, but we're going to call them adventurers. But yeah, essentially, whenever you do any crew, you're always trying and make it great for the player. And yeah, it's just to encourage that culture, and just guide people with that knowledge. It's not an overly complicated concept, but sometimes it isn't immediately obvious. It wasn't immediately obvious for me at the start. I was like, I'm going to try and win 2 as this. That's the most fair way to do this, right? It's like, which is true. You want the monster you're fighting to seem like they care about living. I think that's a very important thing. You know, you want them to seem real to you, but at the same time, you know, as a monster, I'm going to make this as epic as I can for the player.
So we've spoken about the monsters a little bit, and you mentioned nations. Have you guys got any details about, like, any briefs or anything about the nations? Because I remember watching Hefty Yeti's stream with you, Nick, and you were talking about nations but using numbers to describe them.
How much time have you got?
Constantly being super secretive until, like, we release most of our stuff. So we have 9 nations that our players can choose from. We have the first nation. This is one of the nations we think is going to be really popular. It's essentially a D&D-esque mixed with sort of like Disney vibe. So it's all kind of like really kind of high fantasy, sort of like storybooks or fantasy land. But it's all about having your group concept is about an adventuring party. And how you go about doing that kind of adventuring party together. So it's really happy, all really brightly coloured, all about being the kind of like the best that you can be at the thing that you do.
Yeah.
Or supporting others. It's by far the happiest nation that we have out of the 9. The second one is the Wonder, and the Wonder is people that live in this incredibly enchanted forest, which is just insanely magical. And it's the people that can survive and sort of like have adapted to life in this enchanted forest. So they're incredibly wise, lots going on, and really in connection with the magic of nature. We like the Wonder. That's been really well written. Because we've got such amazing writers for this, and it's like a nice, like, diverse team as well, and they've really done great work. We've also got Voldreath. Voldreath is like Brothers Grimm fairy tales. It's like it's dark fantasy, or dark fairy tales. yeah, that's where if you want to play your sort of almost Disney-like villains, but still good guys, ish. That's the place to go. So that's kind of like where your witches and warlocks and sorceresses are going to be.
Wow. Okay.
So that's realm 1. So we've got different realms, and they all kind of got 3 nations in each one.
Okay. So it's kind of like for each 3 nations, their kind of general category is in one realm.
Yeah. So trying to have like a diverse look at everything to make sure that everyone knows sort of what they're kind of coming into with each one. So the first realm, that's kind of like high adventure fantasy.
So the core concept of a lot of these, the whole idea here, and something that runs deeply within the game itself, is the idea of a spectrum of color and a contrast between light and dark. So in the story, which I'm sure Nick will get to, is essentially there is a darkness. Let's say there is a corruption that has spread through a vibrant and beautiful land and taken over a lot of it. And a lot of the people within it have, their cultures have changed and adapted and developed to the presence of this, and they've all been affected in different ways. But ultimately, as we move through the nations, you're going from the lighter side of things, the ones that have come out of it, like Nick was describing in the first nation, where this is the happiest place, this is the nicest place. Basically, they are the nation that are living in a way that is most colourful and still full of life and happiness and joy, and their approach and experience of life is still very much full of those things. As we move through the nations to the later ones, it's the opposite. They're still positive people on the same side. They're all working together against this great enemy, but their cultures have been affected completely differently. And at the other end of the spectrum from Nation 1, you've got a nation that is much more about embracing death and darkness, and the place they live is much more stark and dangerous. It's imagine that as we move through these nations, imagine like how they've each been changed by the presence of a looming, very dangerous threat.
Oh my god, that sounds amazing. But so we've done one realm.
Yeah. So realm 2, I'll try and blast through quickly. So I'll take a while.
Yeah.
So we've got the Republic of Portavos, and Portavos is our seafaring, swashbuckling nation. It's all about going out, seeking adventure, and getting riches. It's all very seafaring and ship-based. In fact, one of their main cities is almost like a floating, moving Venice, which is a bunch of ships all kind of knocked together with a floating, moving city. Then we've got the Heimdam Charter, and that is our sort of like our big city nations, and they are very advanced, and they can specialise a type of magic, which is sort of like creations, like forge magic. So think of it as like kind of like magic punk. Because we'll have lots of sort of like Pinocchio type creatures. The best way of putting it, kind of like
constructs, right?
Yeah, kind of like wooden constructs and things like that have been magically sort of like given life. So I think it'd be fun to have more sort of like puppets in this game.
Yeah.
So we have
everyone knows that like Derek is my favourite puppet in all of LARP. So
yeah, because they're fun, right? Like everyone really enjoys them, and everyone interacts with them in a different way. Like as soon as you're strangely when you're in LARP, when you're interacting with like a puppet or an item, you're instantly in character.
Yeah.
Everyone goes into it, and everyone can interact with them, no matter what age they are. They interact with a creature like that in exactly the right way, which is LARPing perfectly. So we're thinking, if we do, messages between a person, instead of just being like a postman, it can be like a cat or a bird that's kind of made out of wood and given life, and that can all fly over to you and deliver your message.
Wow.
But yeah, there's different things. So the Heimdam Charter is kind of like a mix of very strong kind of like guild leaders, but also kind of like gangsters as well. of
Amazing.
who are kind of on the same sort of social level. They both need each other. So it just makes it interesting, like diverse, kind of like a cityscape sort of like area of play. And then we've got the Ravikin. The Ravikin are sort of like the hardy land traders. They don't really have their own land, but they've kind of made an agreement with everyone else, all the other realms, that they will transport the goods that are needed to keep surviving in this war, in this battle, throughout the land. And they'll be given like kind of station posts and places that they can stay, because outside is filled with monstrous creatures, which is difficult. Some of those creatures have been taken by the Ravikin, and they are using them as pack mules, and that's what the group is designed around, is that sort of monstrous creature that you've decided is what your group's all about. So, for example, if you choose like a big woolly mammoth, you might have like weapons made out of tusks as like a group dynamic, as well as all wearing like big mammoth kind of like furs on your shoulders.
Yeah.
This will signify that that's your grouping, that's the animal that you've chosen.
So you don't have to, like, you can choose your own animal.
Yeah, so we're going to have like a variety, essentially like a block of things that you can choose from this size to this. These are the sort of things you're allowed to have.
Yeah, obviously we're still looking at ways to strike a balance between allowing people to be creative and imaginative, whilst also having some element of cohesion maintained. And yeah, I think how Nick's describing is probably the strategy we'll go with. A bit like in D&D, where you can choose from a list of like familiars or whatever, limited to certain statistics or sizes.
Yeah, we want it to be like a fun variety that people can choose from, like a big one. Like more like a bucket space than individual creatures that they can choose from. We just want to avoid people having things that are too ridiculous. That kind of like take you out of the game.
This nation in particular, I hope, is just going to be a really fun thing for groups to do. Like, like imagine you all decide you ride giant swamp toads, and that's your way that you get around delivering post.
Amazing.
And then you can, you have the odd trinket, like a little earring with a little, like, I don't know, frog spawn hanging from your ear or something like that. Like stuff like that could be just so much fun.
It again, it's like that, taking the world and sort of making it your own and things like that. I really like the idea of this, like, toad idea now, because then you can call yourselves the Hopalongs.
Nice. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's just fun. It's just a bit of silly fun. Like, but we understand silly fun can be immersion breaking sometimes.
Everybody
striking that
LARPs
balance
for their own reasons, right?
They do, and making sure that we encourage a culture, which we're going to be trying to do through various media, like engagement ideas, like we're going to make videos and things about etiquette and the way we're planning on doing stuff, and nation briefs and all sorts of stuff like that. We're going to create a nice big media package for people to enjoy in the latter part of this year. But yeah, in that we're going to probably talk about this kind of thing, and about how obviously this is a new LARP, this is a new project for all of us, this is a collaborative experience, and we've all got to try and do our best to make sure everybody has fun, but also understand that we're going to be, sometimes people are going to do things wrong, we're going to adjust things, we're going to see how things play, like it's very difficult to beta test a lot of these concepts. Like, we have luckily had Nick and other people within the team run games with certain systems in that we're going to now try and apply to a larger festival scale. And that in a way has been a great testing ground for some of the systems we're going to be using. But yeah, it's we're confident people will do their best, and we'll do our best to make sure that we adjust the game accordingly and listen to feedback.
Yeah, I mean it's common to like take a new concept, test it, see what works, see what sticks, change it, and things like that. So that's I'm pretty sure that no one is expecting a perfect. I mean, I don't think there's even such thing as a perfect system for everyone, is there?
No, not at all. And we all complain like bloody crazy. I'm terrified of people like me. I've become so much more understanding already in the last year of like people complaining about certain things within systems, and I'm like, oh yeah, but like, believe me, like it's not perfect, but like the alternatives are extremely difficult to execute.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, I think that we're trying different approaches to many different elements of this, be it the way we're running the business, running the site, how that's set up and how that's managed, and also just lots of game elements as well. But yeah, I think we're doing our best. We'll do our best. We are jumping into this, obviously, and we're going to do some learning on the ground. But we've a lot of the big LARPs and small LARPs across the country have already been really nice and offered us advice and have been really gracious and open-handed, which has been lovely. And I think that they understand that we're all part of a big, still emerging and still growing scene that if we handle correctly, we can make sure grows and becomes a really successful thing for everybody. And collaboration and working together and learning from each other is the way to do that, and the way to provide not just success to endeavors like ours, but also bring lots of new people in and help them integrate into a way, because there's also like a very long legacy of LARPers. That's the other thing. Like, there's lots of new players coming in, but there's also people who've been doing this for 20 years, and we don't want them to feel left behind or interrupted or anything like that. So everyone's always trying to strike that balance between doing right by the people that have been playing their system for years and years, whilst also making it approachable, understandable, and also engaging to people with different tastes and mindsets coming in. It's an amazing, it's very stressful, but incredibly mind-blowing thing to work on. I
was going to say, it sounds like, because you guys have said, like you said, that you spoke to the CP guys, and you've got Kitty and Johnny attached to your projects as well. So it's like, it's not just two people sort of sitting down in a room. I say two, I know your team is probably a lot bigger than two, but you've got, it's not just people going, let's make a thing. Like Nick, you alone have got so many years of experience, and I'm so excited about the fact that you guys have got like people from varying different other systems bringing their knowledge and creating this like collaborative idea. That sounds so good.
Yeah, no, it's really like there's not just a UK community effort. Like, we've got like people from outside the UK as well, but it's a lot of the UK LARP scene is sort of coming together on this project, which is really lovely. And so much support from like pretty much almost every single LARP out there in the UK.
Wow.
But we're incredibly lucky to have so many talented people working for us, and we're still looking out for new people as well. So I think soon we'll be ask people to kind of like email in if they're interested in crewing for us and taking up other roles as well, because we want this to be a very interactive game where we really want to be seeing what the players are doing, as well as having our very large and complicated amounts of plot, but we also want to be witnessing what the players are doing and then interacting to our player base.
And I'm conscious that we've still got one more realm to talk about, but you just mentioned plot. Have you guys, like, I'm so excited. Is there any kind of like overarching plot that you guys can talk about yet?
Ooh, yes. Alex, do you want this one or do you want me to say it?
You can do it.
Cool. Right, so we have the 9. Also got the 9 realms. Everything is going lovely. Everything's been fine. 100 years ago, everything was fine. And then something started happening, and people started kind of arguing in our beautiful world of Elandra. And we weren't too sure about this, and like this kind of different kind of like movement that was coming across kind of like 50 years ago. 100 years ago, and then 50 years after that, there was a massive attack on everywhere, all at once, hitting all of the biggest infrastructures, and no one was ready or prepared for a war of this scale, and with this much savagery and intelligence behind it. that's our bad guys, which we're calling for now the corrupted.
Okay.
There are these people that are able to talk and interact with not only the player base, but obviously like the characters behind this wall, and give them powers in exchange for something. Everyone's not too sure what it is, and they are being sort of like cultists, as well as these horribly strong, corrupted creatures. Think sort of demons, but a less traditional, like Christian fashion. Coming in as rampaging through everything, and then they're using the Menhirs to kind of like put up kind of magical walls. So every time they start taking territory, they're blocking entry of armies coming in.
Okay.
So for the last 50 years, our goodies, our player base have been beaten up a lot. In fact, when they start the game, which will be next year, and I'll say the dates in a bit, they've almost lost all of their territories. They've got very few territories left. Land that is their own in their nations. However, we have gods. In the game, we have a pantheon of gods, which is 12 gods, and they are very much kind of like Greek-style gods. When I say Greek style, I mean like they are not perfect individuals. They are flawed characters.
Okay.
With their own like wants and needs. But they've come together with the last and biggest menhir that the player base have, and they've created this landmass called Haven. And Haven has appeared for the first time a month ago, essentially before the first game. And here this is where everyone gets like a vision to the adventurers from the gods and from other beings, other kind of needs and wants of the player base to go, I need to go here. This is going to be something new. This is something we can finally use to fight back.
Yeah.
And in Haven is a variety of tools that can be used to start jumping past these magical walls to fight back and start slowly taking the territory back and the people that are trapped inside.
Oh, okay. So Haven's going to be the place that all the players are gathering.
Yep, that's right. So that's going to have our Menhir, which is where people do our rituals. Mm-hmm. We have a really nice special effects plan for that.
A menhir is a stone, in our case, a shard of a great stone that is used to channel our form of magic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Stonehenge is made of many menhirs.
Oh.
Essentially, the menhirs are like, in this case, I believe they're shards, right, of a larger menhir that... basically they are the best conduit around to channel the weird, which is what we're calling magic, which is an old English word for essentially the magic. WYRD. I think also something that I'd like to mention at this point is that is a loose, like a basic description of the current story. There is a huge amount of depth to it, and obviously, because we haven't even launched the game yet, there's not too much we want to reveal beyond the basic premise, because part of the game is going to be revealing the depth of it, essentially. But something I will say as well from a gameplay perspective, like we have so much written and so much story to tell people. However, we also understand that ultimately LARPs are player generated. You end up writing the stories, you end up forming the stories, and we're going to have a really good system in place to make sure that people's actions have consequences and they feel like they're living in a world that is real and has pushback. But also, we just want to make sure that the way that the game is laid out for people is understandable from a mechanical point of view. So essentially, we're putting players in an area that has equipment for them to start pushing out and retaking what was lost. Once they retake what was lost, they will gain new stuff new capability, new production. Ultimately, it is very gamified, and that is for a good reason. Like for me especially, I love games. A game I particularly love and I implore people to try is a game called Slay the Spire, which is a roguelike style game, but essentially you have to you play your way through a dungeon and you defeat a room, and then you move and you get a reward and you move to the next room, and you can choose on a map which way you go, and there's different kinds of encounters. It's not always combat. There are like riddles or questions and things like that you have to solve, and I think like I see our map a bit like that. So if you imagine it as a bunch of hexagons on a map, our hexagon is Haven, and we're pushing out and retaking territory that was lost to corruption. And once you unlock that hexagon, you get a new thing, and it's something that people can hopefully quite easily understand, and be assured there is a rich world behind all of that. But ultimately, that's your basic gameplay loop. People understand on a national level and a coherent cooperative level what they're roughly trying to do. And I also think we're going to try and reward players, or we're going to be in a position to reward players quite frequently with new things and new territory, because they are starting afresh and there's all of this world to take back.
We're doing so many different kind of like gameplay styles. We don't want everyone to feel left out, but one of the things we are definitely incorporating, we think, is missing from a lot of modern LARPs is we're going to have dark stuff, and we're also really bending over backwards to make sure that people can play darker characters. But the world is incredibly wholesome and beautiful. It's a really lovely world, and we are going to allow people to have the wholesome option to be achievable by the players, like the super good guy option. If the players choose that option, we don't know. The option is available. Other options are available, being like, the mid-tier one, the sort of good one, the wacky ones that the players will inevitably go down, or the bad guy option. All these options are available. It's just depending on the player action, and then how they go about completing the quests and plots that we put in place. But just trying to make it a more wholesome game, because there's a lot of like fun and kind of like comedy and stuff. I think it's just kind of missing from quite a few games, because it's going for like a dark, gritty feel. But I think that's kind of narrowing things down too much.
Okay, so seeing as we've talked about the wholesome realm and the sort of the realm too, would you say that's kind of like the industrial, like middling realm?
Industrial, kind of like adventure economics.
Okay, seeing as we've talked about the gritty, please tell me that realm 3 is the nitty gritty one.
Yeah, it is. So, Kairos, this is the sort of like the Greek sort of look at, has like a Greek look and feel to it. But they are people that are incredibly religious and devout. They are the type of ones that they want to show off and show that they are the best, and shout that loudly to everyone to know that they are the best at the thing that they do, and they do it for their gods. Because if they do, the people can choose to turn them into statues after they die, and then those statues can then be animated to defend their city or wherever they come from, or decide to die.
So you're telling me that if I do a good job in my life, in death, I can become a 60-foot tall statue?
Yes, which will then be animated.
They can then stomp buildings. Just one of the ways that the people may honor their like best citizens. I think they also have a focus on citizenry, like basically like ancient Greece. They're trying to be a model of greatness. And there are thinkers, but if you are perhaps a great warrior, then you can be immortalized in such a way.
I think I know a certain former Navari senator who would very much like that option.
Awesome.
We're also thinking that they're going to be prone to witness me and running into battle.
Oh my god.
So but we'll see how that goes.
Oh my god, that sounds so good. Like Mad Max, like witness me. Oh yes. That'd be so good. Sorry, carry on. I'm just stuck on being 60-foot tall statue. So
Yeah, and also I always like the idea of the costume. The costume briefs and things are being finalized, but I think is there some sort of Greek inspiration in the costume brief? Do you know, Nick, or
There is, yeah. So sort of like, so it's Greek, very Greek costume brief, but it's kind of modernized up for the time period we're going for. So it's sort of like 15th to 17th century. It's the clothing time period we're sort of aiming for.
So we're very slightly more modern than the average high fantasy medieval. Not to the point where there's steampunk, to be clear. It's not steampunk.
No steampunk.
But up to sort of 17th, I think, is the cutoff that Kitty is looking at. I think that's what we've agreed. And it just allows it a little bit more. I think it's probably another 100 years or so more styles to be brought in to the brief and to the world, and we think that's fun. Let's see what we can do. There's so many great costume people out there now. We just want to give people options, essentially, because it's a huge part of the hobby to design one's kit.
Yeah, so the next one is completely different. So the next nation is people that live under the mountains. The people that live under the mountains, they are incredibly religious, again, because this is more like the religious realm. Magic and religion is their main thing, and a community game. They are... What's the best way of putting them quickly? Terratactic paladins. That live under the mountains. They create amazing armor and works. They also have, obviously, not just paladins. They have obviously clerics and people that work in the dark. They are people that are fighting desperately, without quarter, on behalf of the good and the gods against the enemy.
Wow.
And I'm really looking forward to seeing how the player base interacts with that.
Okay, and then there's one last nation.
Yeah, Morvalis. So Morvalis is the darkest of all the nations, darkest of all the nations. It is not a nice place to live. Everything outside your walls and cities and towns is horrible and wants to kill you. In fact, they came up with a rule. This is a thing that you can decide as part of their society is you can work in life or you can work in death.
Okay.
And a lot of people have decided to go with, we'll work in death, please. That's what happens is you live your life the best it possibly can do. You might even help manage a couple of things with your rituals or magic now and again. But you're living a kind of a nice and opulent life inside the walls of your towns and cities. However, once you die, your loved ones will gather, as well as your priests and ritualists. And they'll give you the best armor and the best tools for your next life. They'll put penance and things on you, saying about how much you're loved and who you were in life. A big ritual will be done, lovely words will be said, and then you'll be raised as a undead. And your body will then go to work on behalf of the nation. Be it either working in the army, in the undead army, or you'll be going off to work in the mines or working the farms to feed your nation and keep society running. I was just
like, when you were talking about that, I was just imagining the player interactions that you're going to have between the people that believe that having your body, or not body, but having your soul turned into a statue in death versus having people reanimated.
So your soul or your spirit does something else. It's your body that's left behind that gets changed. So your spirit does another thing. It's your body that gets animated, or turned to stone, made bigger, as in like the people of Kairos. Yeah. Or with Morvalis, it's your body that's animated, but your spirit's gone somewhere else. So you're not in it; it's your body that works.
So people in Morvalis are kind of like radical recyclers.
Yeah,
Yes.
in a lot of ways, it's a genius way to live their life, and I mean, this has implications. So, like, a lot of the people that choose to live, to work in death, let's call it, they become incredibly skilled or talented at certain things because they get to devote all of their time to just something they're good at or a passion or something like that. It has really interesting implications, but it also may make them completely incapable of doing things they don't want to do. It's also going to have massive implications there. Equally, you may live in Morvalis in one of the towns, the great walled towns or cities, or you may choose to live a more sort of cut off life on like a small compound or estate you own out in the middle of nowhere that has to maintain an active guard, and every time you have to go shopping you have to employ like 6 essentially witch hunter style characters or witcher style characters just to take you to the shops. Like, there's a huge amount to play with in this route in this nation for sure.
And also there's the people that are still there who want to work in life and rest in death. So with those people, there may be a problem where we're not getting the shipments from the mines anymore, or we're not producing as much crops as we used to, or something's gone wrong with this small garrison, or post where the undead guards were. Someone needs to go out, find out what's wrong, and fix it. So groups of people will gather together, will be hired to go off and go outside, fight their way to the problem, investigate what the problem is, fix it, then come back home to get paid.
Amazing.
So something that I wanted to clarify from earlier when I was talking about how the layout of the map was working, and now we had Haven and we were working from there. Nations do still have, I think, is it a territory each if they had a home territory?
Yeah, so territory is kind of like an empire term. We're kind of doing it a bit different from that, but obviously, we're all empire players, so it's like a really easy way of talking about stuff. But so it's like it's a pretty much a territory plus a little bit each for each nation. So everyone's gotten really badly messed up by the enemy force.
Yeah, they've seemingly lost territory and they've been pushed back, but then this new area is available to them, which has like things within it that will help their pushback ultimately. They still do have areas of interest, lands that they control, and that's where we're talking about when we're saying where these people are, rather than them all existing in and around Haven. Haven is like an area that's going to, I always think of it as, if you've seen the Harry Potter films, where Sirius Black's house is sort of in a pocket dimension and it squeezes itself out between houses when it needs to be accessed. Haven is like an area that like sort of pushes itself into reality between spaces, so it means we can move it around the map. It usually appears near front lines so conveniently, but essentially the way we're describing how this area works, rather than having a fixed spot on our map or having it as like a floating island or something like that, we have it essentially squeeze an area out in of the map. It squeezes itself between areas, and it's quite a, I can't remember, at one point we did have a discussion on the actual physical size of it and what it looks like, but essentially you have the central area where the shard of a menhir is that they can use for channeling, and some other bits and bobs, and also just where like the combined states have decided to meet ultimately. It's that's how we're describing Haven and how it moves around. But that's Morvalis as well. That was the last nation. Very popular. That one I think was written mostly by Mark Humes, who is High Rollers. He also plays House Mortaire in Empire, who has nothing to do with death at all, and he definitely didn't. But no, it's really popular.
Hey, don't mess with my red and black people. They're the best.
It's a great brief, as are honestly, they're all really great. We've been reviewing them all again recently, and they're all really different. Nick's just given you a real top line just for speed, but like you're going to be able to do all sorts. There's going to be all sorts of costume briefs. There's going to be all sorts of ways to play the game with different focuses as well, and that'll become more clear and defined as we release more information over the coming months, which will be going live on our website, which is menhirsfate.com. Currently you can sign up for updates there via email, but yeah, we will be releasing a more developed version of the website, which will obviously have all the nations browsable with a nice bit of context and things like that.
God, that sounds so exciting. I've got quite a visual brain, and I just keep on picturing like when you're actually there in the field and you're in Haven and you've just got all of these incredibly different people. Like the way my brain's categorizing it at the moment is kind of like if you've ever watched Ready Player One, when they come into the Oasis and everybody's avatar is just so completely different. Like I'm so excited to see it.
Yeah, it's going to be cool to see so many new costume briefs, isn't it? Because like whenever you go to any new LARP that you haven't been to before and you start looking at everyone's costumes, you're like, it's crazy. It's just amazing. It's just like, wow, look at all this variety. Look at all this like stuff that I don't see every day. You know, when you're walking wherever you walk around in your life, you know, you don't see as much leather.
Exactly, right?
But yeah, for sure. And also like the way we're designing the layout. Speaking of talking about that scene, we're designing the layout so we have like a town center area, and that was what Nick was talking about earlier. With we have various guilds, the Bankers Guild being one of them, but there's going to be other guilds that will allow people to access bits of plot, access legal entities and things like that. But that is going to be the meeting place where all camps will essentially form a hub and spoke around. So that's what I'm saying about how we're trying to keep everything centralized for everyone so that we have the space to do that. We also have a really amazing company that is working with us that has literally thousands of tents where not only will we be offering that to people who are traveling from afar and may want to rent a really, really reasonable in-character tent, but also they're going to be doing some amazing, huge in-character tent structures for us, which will form this really nice looking town center area, and just a really big space for people to be able to stand undercover, whether it's like raining or too sunny, and queue for their in-character interactions that Nick was describing earlier, whilst also being able to socialize and trade and things like that. So it will hopefully create that space for you to experience exactly that.
Yes, that company is the Woodville Project, and they've been incredibly lovely to us. Because essentially, we made a deal with them. Essentially, we're getting a really good price with them, which is one of the benefits of them only being half a mile away from our site.
And they've been really trying to get behind us. Like they've been really keen to like see us succeed, like Nick says. And we really appreciate their support. And they're really hoping to help us fulfill this really awesome vision with lights and canvas and all sorts of stuff.
Oh my God, I'm just looking at the website. I can have a double bed at LARP.
Yeah, I mean, obviously like other sites have offered stuff like this. We think these guys are super affordable for what you get. Like they are doing it at a very reasonable rate. And also, like people, we want this game to be able to be accessible to people from all over the world. And often you have to travel light if you're coming from far away. So this might be an option for them to be able to camp in character and have that handled for them. Beyond that, we're also looking at offering structures and things like that to groups. So you'll be able to rent like a meeting space style area for your camp space. So let's say you've already got some IC tents or whatever sleeping IC tents. We can offer you like a fire pit and benches and a canvas tarp over the top setup. Obviously, that's probably a bit more expensive than a 3-meter bell tent, but like honestly, like I was looking at it with a group like mine that I take to Empire, it would be the equivalent of chucking in like 20 quid each, and we would have for the weekend a really nice icy space with benches, fire pit, canvas, everything set up for you. Hopefully people will be able to give themselves a really nice experience if they're looking for that.
And they come with us like a variety of packages as well. So it can be literally an empty, giant like emperor tent. You can have that set up for you, or you can have 6 beds in there that are kind of like on-framed beds
Yeah.
with like pillows.
Create a little barracks.
Yeah, toothbrushes, like, all the
Great
lights
fun.
and stuff, vanity mirror. Like it's
Yeah.
insane the variety of packages that there.
And it could be a good way of like pilot testing whether or not a bell tent is like a good investment for you.
Yeah,
right? 'Cause,
yeah,
like, if you get-
exactly.
Yeah. So other companies that we're like collaborating with is Security and Event Solutions.
Yeah.
So they're going to be handling all of our kind of like back of house stuff. There's a lot of time in LARP. You have LARPers, organising the event and doing what they do best, which is doing the LARP stuff, organising the LARP.
Yeah.
However, what they're not professionals in is usually event management and doing all of the dirty, hard-working stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We'd rather have our people that are amazing at running events and areas of events, areas of LARP that they're amazing at doing, and just focusing all of their time and attention on that.
Yeah.
So what Security and Event Solutions are doing is they're doing everything else. So that's like the toilets, the water, making sure that the electricity is running. They're also doing our trained up professional security. So having a full-time 24-hour security team that'll be on site. Because we don't want bad things to happen. No one ever does. But if they ever do happen, we want to make sure that everyone is looked after the best we possibly can.
Yeah.
In fact, we're also going through charities at the moment, which are for mental health charities. So we're going to have like a little chill out zone in the OC area. So if anything's getting a bit too hard, or you just needed an area to just stim out, cool down, give yourself a breather. We'll have professionals there to with a space to look after you.
Oh my god, that sounds so nice.
Yeah, I think we're all aware there's a lot of neurodivergency in love, myself included.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to look after our own people, and instead of saying, "Hey, we're for everyone," actually just put our money where our mouth is, and actually, do something. But yeah, we're really trying to think about LARPers, trying to modernise how we think LARP should be run, and we just hope that people kind of like enjoy or utilise the things we're putting in. We're not going to put it in there and go, "I hope no one uses it." Please use the facilities.
Yeah, I always think that when I see paramedic tents and I walk by and I'm like, my head does hurt quite a lot from getting smacked in the head earlier. And I'm like, it's probably heat exhaustion. And I see like paramedics sat in there, 3 of them just waiting to help somebody. And you're like, I should probably just use this.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that sounds like, because like, I'm just sorry. My brain is like so excited right now because you've thought of pretty much everything. You've got your IC. We haven't really spoken about the guilds very much, and we'll go on to that in a minute, I think. But you've got your IC area for all of your in-character admin, and then you've got your OC area for all of the medical side of things, the neurodivergency, the physical ticket sales, like all of that stuff.
There's like a customer service desk. So like for things that are outside of character interaction, I think pack pickup may also be there. We may do it in the in-character area. I don't think we've quite made a decision yet. But essentially just like when you're in character time, that's when we want you to be able to do it in character. But if you arrive on Thursday or Friday before time in, then we will obviously, I think, provide you the packs then.
Yeah. Oh, that's so exciting. And it's like, and the logistics person and project manager person in my brain as well is like, the queue times will be so much less with all of these various different access points.
Exactly, that's what we're trying. Obviously it means we've got a high crew requirement, and again, if you're interested in doing that, like sign up at menhirsfate.com just for updates, and then we'll send emails out for like a crew call. We'll also be advertising it on our Facebook and things like that, but yeah, ultimately we're going to need lots of people to help us with these things, but we have a huge group of friends who've been very, very good to us. And equally, I've said this to my friends already who said like, oh yeah, I'll totally help you out with crewing if you need to. Like, I also understand that they really want to play this game. So like, we're going to work out a way to make sure that if you do end up helping us with crewing, especially in the early events, like, we're really going to look after you. We'll make sure you don't fall behind if you do end up wanting to play the game or have R&R characters and things like that, I think we're going to be allowing people to progress R&R characters. Obviously, there's elements of the game that we need to consider how crew interact with, but we're going to do right by our crew. We will not forget the fact that you may also want to help out, but also want to be part of the game. So we're going to do what we can. Welfare wise, we're going to put a hell of a lot on for them. Lots of space to get cover and sit down and things like that. Obviously at a bare minimum, but just day-to-day welfare, as well as things like a party, things like just getting you fed, getting a fun t-shirt that plays on the fact that the shortened version of our name is MF, which is quite funny. So anyway, we have crewed games ourselves, we have ran games ourselves, we understand what that feels like and how great that can be, and we want to make sure that we repeat that for others.
Amazing. I'm so excited now. And seeing as we've spoken about like crew and all of that stuff, should we talk briefly about these guilds and the in-character like logistics areas?
Yeah, so quickly on that, I've tried to make it so that all these things that Women Crew do actually kind of NPC for us. It's as fun as possible. Which we tested out variations of that with Portents. How did you feel that went?
I love Portents. Like I only crewed it because obviously with my work schedule I could only crew it for one day, but even in that one day I had so much fun. Like it was weird because like the whole premise of Portents, for anyone who doesn't know, is that you play the villains, and then as myself, when we crewed as NPCs, we were playing villagers that were being terrorized by the players, which was a really weird thing. And I always wondered, like, if you're deliberately playing the villains and me as an NPC who's in a separate area gets terrorized, what's the dynamic like back in the actual player only area?
Yeah, so Portents was actually designed as a social experiment
Really?
for this LARP, and for like because I always knew that I was going to do a fest LARP one day. So I wanted to start experimenting with different things and ideas, and Portents was the place for that. So these were the worst villains ever imagined. They've done some horrific stuff, obviously within keeping with our game rules and things. So terrorizing, just not being very nice, murdering a bunch of innocent, lovely people. And then they'll come back into their own camp, back with all the other villains. They're all nasty assassins, witches, warlocks, horrible people, loads of undead. And it's the most wholesome game you've ever seen.
Really?
There's been zero crime
since
the game started between the bad guys. And so the idea is that if you give player characters, because D&D, perfect example, every time you think of a D&D party, the rogue or like assassin type character is always in that.
Yeah. In
fact, even the D&D movie that was a great success that came out, the most recent one, is mostly thieves, right? It's based around rogues, and that seems to be something that's kind of been put out. But if you give people the ability to fight, to use that character identity on an NPC, they fulfilled that checklist. It's like I have been a thief. I have stolen from this person. I'm a successful thief. Tick. I've played a thief. Now I can carry on playing the rest of my game. Or I want to be an assassin or a murderer. I'll go out and assassinate someone, murder someone who's an NPC. They tick that box of yep, I'm still playing my character. This is what I am. Come back home, and then they're not going to do it, because we all know that when it comes to sort of like PvP and LARP, when it's player versus player, and you're going to kill someone, one person wins, and one person loses. Which isn't as fun, especially if there's no check-ins and things like that, which is kind of like a more of an advanced LARPer thing to do. So the deal is with these guilds is we are getting people involved in different ways to kind of let people tick off those sort of character roles.
Yeah.
But utilizing it against NPCs instead of them then fighting back against players.
Okay. Oh, that sounds so good.
And then everything sort of meshes together. So we have... there's a Bankers Guild, and that has its own thing as well. So we're going to have the Treasure Hunters Guild. The Treasure Hunters Guild is where you go off and you can join up and be a part of that guild, and you can go off and seek out adventure and find lost artifacts and relics of the nations that you've lost, or like of the nations that are lost, and get them back. So a lot of these will be sort of like Crystal Maze style encounters, kind of like Indiana Jones style stuff. So a lot of it will be a mix of like non-combat and a variety of ways of going around it for lots of different people. However, what they also are is essentially it's a rogues guild as well. So there is a lot of wholesome stuff going on, but there's going to be the opportunity to steal stuff from NPCs.
Oh my god! So it's the Treasure Hunters Guild in hyphenated commas.
Yeah, we wanted people to be able to do dodgy stuff without having to basically telegraph to everyone that they're slightly dodgy, and also give them an outlet for that character design that isn't like necessarily outwardly confrontational with other players. It gives them something fun to do. Like again, like we've done this in our own games in smaller stuff where we're just I'm a thief and I get to go off and do an encounter that a crew has made for me where I get to just do that, and it's all really cool, and everyone's like there to make that feel like a really epic thing for me. And then when you come back, you felt like you feel like you are that roguish thief, without having to have gone over and necessarily screwed over somebody else. Because it's something we examine with like theft and things, and like of being at the receiving end of theft, having seen some, petty theft, as we all have at LARP, indulged in a little bit of petty theft now and then, but nothing like, I got cleaned out a few years ago, and that was just shit, because we never had any way of telling who did it. It happened when we were all at a fight. Like, it's just like, it didn't create any game for us. Yeah. It just kind of just took some of our game away, and it was just a bit like... that wasn't fun. And we were like, well, and I think players realize that a lot of the time when they play thieving or assassin style characters or roguish style characters. They're like, I want to do this for fun, but I also don't want to screw over other people. But so I kind of need to do this in a fun way. And like, so yeah, we try to design these NPCs so you get to do some of those things and feel like you're legit without having to screw over people, right?
I mean, you talking about that reminds me of an experience that I had at E2 at Empire, in the fact that it whilst this was a PvP interaction, we did check-ins and everybody was party to what was going on, even the person that was like the mark in quotation marks. And it's like having that element of gameplay where I was supposed to pickpocket somebody, knowing that everybody was on the same page, and even the person getting pickpocketed knew what was going to happen. It creates that safety net and like that more security within myself as well. Yeah, it was really good. So sorry, Nick, carry on with the Treasure Hunters Guild. I'm not too excited.
Yeah, so you have things like go right. This person's going to turn up. They're one of the corrupted. They're a cultist of one of the dark entities. But also got a lot of money. So mug that guy.
Amazing.
They look like this. They go by the name of this. It'll be very obvious who they are. They'll probably have like a bannerman around with them. And they go, right, okay. So it allows them to do the thing, do the sneakies, like when's the right moment? How am I going to do this? And this can be done like, in the in-character field, the city field, or it might be a separate encounter where you have to go off and there might be a like a bandit camp or whatever, and you've got to go sneak in, grab the artifact, and get out without being seen. And I think it's just a lot of fun. However, what we'll also have is if people do decide to steal from another player, bearing in mind your money can be left with the Bankers Guild. So if you're really not up for that and you only want money when you need it, you can just leave it in the bank. So you don't have it on you, it can't be stolen.
Amazing.
So it has there's an ability to essentially to have an opt out, which is completely in character and perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But say Bob's sword gets stolen, and I've stolen Bob's sword. I now take it to the Treasure Hunters Guild. So I'm not going out of character with it, I'm staying in character with it, and I then have an in-character interaction with the head of this guild, which is an NPC. And I go, right, I've got Bob's sword. And I go, excellent. Essentially, this is kind of as you would do if you're handing over to God, handing over to the Fizz rep. And they go, right, what would you like to do with it? I can buy it off you, or you can keep it. So essentially, they work as a fence as well, which is now another in-character interaction, keeping you in game. And so they want to keep it. They go, yeah, fine, no problem. They take, the thing that identifies that magic item off the Fizz rep and keep it safely in a box underneath this tent.
Yeah.
And attach it to the replacement sword. Because obviously we're not going to let people just walk off with other people's Fizz reps.
Yeah.
And they get to keep it. Or they can go, right, we'll buy it off you, brilliant, here's some money. And they walk off, having stolen the sword and sewn it off. Now, say you're Bob and you come back and go, I can't find my sword. I'll see if the treasure hunters can find it for me. She goes to the treasure hunters guild and go, by any chance have you seen the flaming sword? And they go, oh, I might have done. Maybe for 2 silver I can find that for you. Fine, here's 2 silver. What do you know? Look what I have here. But now that's a whole in-character experience. Instead of making you go like off the guard and sort of dealing with it in an OC way that's taking up your time.
Yeah.
This way there's more interaction to it, and then you can try and see if you can bargain with this person, try and work out who it was that stole it from you.
Oh my god, amazing.
Or you can go off and talk to the Court of Daggers, which is another guild.
Okay.
The Court of Daggers is a mix of the police and probably militia / social justice.
Okay.
This is how all crime is going to be solved. And also distributed.
Amazing.
So this is for people that want to play thugs, people that want to curse other people, and also for assassins.
Okay.
This is where you go for your assassin jobs. So on the board will be 100 people you can get assassinated, and they will once again be NPCs. However, say I'm very angry with Bob because I found out it was him that stole my sword. I'm going to send a bunch of people over to legally beat him up. And I go, right, I need this person, he's from this nation, I need him beaten up and be given a message. Don't steal my stuff again. You pay over the money that's associated with that, and then the guild works out the rest for you. So then they hand over, they find out some players who have signed up to the Court of Daggers, and they go, right, we need someone to, first of all, send a message. So the message is actually a letter, and it's delivered to that player character to say, hi, there's been a grievance. People will soon be sent after you to assault you, legally by the Court of Daggers. You have an hour to prepare. Now, so what that actually is not only is it's like kind of giving you a pre-warning of something's going to happen, and you're allowed to legally defend yourself, is if there is some sort of OC problem, or you are not up for this type of game, you can go over to any ref, and we're going to have a lot of refs, or any NPC, and we can hand over that information to the guild to cancel that.
Oh, wow.
within within that time frame, to make sure that people then aren't sent out.
Yeah.
Because there might be some sort of like, we hope not, but obviously there might be some sort of OC bullying, or you're like, you're really not up for it, it's not okay. We can
Yeah.
intervene with that, because obviously you want to make sure everyone's having fun.
Yeah. Or the player themselves might have some sort of trauma or trigger surrounding that kind of gameplay.
Exactly.
Right?
So we don't want to like ask questions about it, but people go, yeah, look, I just cannot be doing this. Like, yeah, absolutely no problem at all. Cancel it, refund the client.
Okay.
But people are cool for it, which we're hoping is to be, most people, unless they have, a reason. It's just another area of fun game.
Mm-hmm.
And then that can escalate. So after that, they go, no, they keep stealing from me. I can then ask and pay for a coven to curse them.
Amazing.
And then the guild will then sort that out for me on my behalf.
Yeah.
And get them cursed, once again with a pre-warning. Because essentially it's just like we have been doing. It's an IC check-in, or OC check-in, sorry, but done in an IC way. It's kind of inbuilt into the game. Let's keep messing around. They're now like a big supervillain. They're robbing from everyone. It's a big problem for everything. The whole nation band together, because these sort of things are going to be really expensive if it's against a player character. You can get him assassinated.
Okay.
And once again, there'll be a warning, bigger time period to get ready, but it's completely legal for you to defend yourself to the death.
Yeah.
So it's just a whole weird guild where you're actually allowed to be an assassin, but it's mostly designed, once again, to be targeting NPCs and going out on small quests and stuff like that.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah, so that's that one. This one, Classic Adventurers Guild.
Okay.
So every classic place, Adventurers Guild, turn up to it. There's going to be a massive board listing all the different adventures that will be going out that day. With a variety of different things that you can do. And they'll also tell you if it's combative, which most of them will be combative in Adventurers Guild. There'll also be ones that aren't combative at all. For like a mix of different play styles and fun. So it could be like negotiating with a local entity that's messing with a village.
Mm-hmm.
Or going in and fighting a horde of 20 skeletons or whatever.
Okay.
You'll see all this on the board, and then you can sign up to that. But what we're having with all of these guilds is you get your guild license once you sign up, and pay in for your guild membership. And every time you go on an adventure with them, which you'll usually get paid for, rewarded for in some way or another, you get a stamp on your card, which shows that you're leveling up within the guild, because there's also guild ranks.
Amazing.
So, however, if I did one battle and I said, "Oh, I really enjoyed that adventure. I really want to go on the next one," I then turn up in the sort of in that area to get ready for the next adventure. But everyone else has got no stamps on their card, and I've got one. That means all those people will go on that adventure and not me.
Oh, so it's a way of stopping people from like skirmish hogging, right?
Yeah. So it's an in-character way of skirmish hopping, and that's going to be done with all the different guilds to make sure that we're diversifying our play as much as possible.
That's so good.
But then we're also going to have different rankings, like I said. So once you get up to so many bronze, because you've done so many adventures, you can be like silver level. So like 90% of... We're going for now. We'll probably change it, but it's like bronze, silver, and gold. So you've stopped being bronze now. You're now a silver level, journeyman adventurer, and 90% will be bronze.
Okay.
And then like 8% will be silver. So it's people with the highest amount up until silver goes on these quests. They're a bit harder than the others.
Okay.
And then 2% are gold, where it's like really hard fight. Like it's going to be really hard. And it's for people that have like the highest amount of stamps on their card. and as the game progresses, we can change the percentages. So you sort of know the difficulty level going in and kind of like the general vibe you're going for.
Yeah.
But still making it fun and kind of rewarding people who keep turning up.
Yeah.
And getting in as well, because we want to make sure that everyone can get on these adventures.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a lot of plot. It's not all based on the guilds. You've got the guilds that you can go in and do your adventures with. That's one area of getting plot, which is sort of like a walk-in, turn up and get involved. We've also got nation-based plot, realm-based plot, and world-based plot.
Oh my god. God, your plot team must be enormous.
Yes, it's also a whole system that we have with our player refs that we'll be recruiting for as well.
Yeah.
So we have like our national command structure. So think of them like egregores, if you're an Empire player. They're sort of like managers for a nation. Then we get player refs that are completely trained up, so we have a whole like training regime that people have to complete to be able to be a player ref or ref of any kind. And then you can specialize in other areas to get like, essentially like your scout badge of I can do this thing. And I can ref, enchanting and apothecary or the menhir with rituals and stuff. But yeah, you have to do training, and you can now be a player ref. So what that means is you're playing the game. You're not allowed to have positions of power with this, but you still play the game, have fun, but you're also helping us kind of like manage the game as well, which is more fun than it actually sounds.
It does sound like quite a lot of fun, though, because you get to have a direct effect on various different bits, don't you?
So what's happening is you get to meet everyone, play the game, enjoy everything, but you also get to see what your nation is like and the groups within your nation and the people. And then what you'll be allowed to do is you can then, with our form that we'll be giving out to these player refs, write your own plot for your nation, but it can't be involving yourself or your group. And then that'll be handed over to the managers, like a national command, egregores, whatever they end up calling. They'll make sure that it's all fine and it's all good. They might even help you write it if it needs a little bit of tweaking. Make sure there's nothing else going on with it, and go, yeah, no, this is cool, this is brilliant, well done. They'll then pass it up to world plot team. They'll make sure that what the plot they're writing isn't messing with everything else, and we have the resources provided for that plot they want to write. So it now means we have in-depth national plot for everyone.
Yeah.
That actually knows the player base and what people are doing and having that sort of interactivity. Also, we have our own plot writers as well, but it means that they can add a bit to the world. So we can go, really right, good. Well done, Sarah, for writing this plot. It's absolutely amazing. We've got a time slot for this. It's going to be Saturday at 6:30. We'd like you to run it because it's yours, so you can make sure it goes the way that you want it to go.
Wow.
And they go, right, brilliant. And obviously we've given the support team with that, with like our egregore command team, all the resources they need. They go off, given the monster crew that they need to do that encounter, go off and do it. But now they get to see people interacting with the plot and a bit of creativity that they've put into the world.
Yeah. Oh, that would be so rewarding.
Yeah, so you can see just go, oh, awesome. And people afterwards, they'll be able to walk back with them and hear, it's like, oh, that was amazing. I really enjoyed that. Love that. And just be able to hear that and know that you created something that people have really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Hopefully means that they're going to stick around. And they're going to be with us for longer and keep wanting to do that and even do a carry on from that plot line, do a brand new one for a different bunch of people. And just kind of get that kind of rewarding kind of happiness vibe that we want to be going around in our game.
Oh, that's so amazing. And so we've done 1, 2, 3, 4. We've done 4 guilds. Are there any more?
There's the Mages Guild, but essentially has people kind of helping out using how the Menhir works. And our ritual system.
Okay.
So we have obviously we have mages in our game.
Yeah.
And we have like a really interesting system for it. I'm really looking forward to people exploring. Which kind of connects to almost everything in our game. It's really simple to understand, but it's kind of like difficult to master when you get into like the nitty gritty of what it is and the different things you can potentially use with it.
Yeah.
From like basic spell casting, which can be melee or range, but usually costs more in mana to throw a spell.
Yeah.
And then we have rites and ceremonies, and then big rituals. So kind of rites and ceremonies kind of have like a cap that they can get to with power. And at the top of one of those caps of power, so say you're being a fire mage, and go, I want to have a giant burning wall of fire or around this town. You can do a ritual to kind of plan to do that using the menhir. Perform that. That's all fine, and you then get told, you've now got a slot now at the menhir. Go there, and then the guardians of the menhir will be able to tell you what you need to perform that ritual that you want to do. How difficult it's going to be. You get all the ingredients and stuff you need together to perform this ritual, and perform it, or you can just go, no, I'll give it a go and see what happens. Perform it, and
so good.
Either you do have a success where you're able to do this, it's now part of the game world. You don't do it, and it just fails. It goes horribly wrong and you die, or it goes incredibly well and you get that you wanted to do plus a bonus.
Okay.
But the whole very complicated system that I'm not going to go in now about how that works.
Yeah, that sounds like a whole other episode in and of itself.
Yeah, which is complicated in like the back of house, but simple for the player.
Okay.
But it utilises the ability to use our kind of like the special effects we'll be using with the menhir, and everything else. So that's all what that guild's kind of like about. It's sort of magical quests, but also teaching people how the menhir works and the different rites, and kind of sorting that out for people, making it a bit easier.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's all of them for now. Yeah, and then there's the god stuff as well, but that's its own thing that's been messing with the world.
I don't like. I know that you guys are like releasing little bits of details like here and there. Like first, like thank you so much for giving me as many details as you've got, because like I am now so excited and I want it to be next year already. How long do I have to wait until I can actually be in Haven?
Oh, Alex, do you want to say the dates?
Yeah, so our first event is the first, we think, Festival LARP of the year, the 4th of April. And I know
oh my God.
People are like, ooh, it might be a bit chilly. We looked at average dates, and also, unfortunately, with the changing climate, we think that a date at this time is no more risky than doing one at the end of April, which is sort of the average start date for most festival LARPs.
Yeah.
So we looked at the dates. We don't want to be too close to other big LARPs as well, because A, we may want to attend them, and B, we don't want people to have to choose between their favourite. So we've pushed it all the way forward to the start of April. That'll be E1, event 1. Then our next event will be on the 9th of May to the 11th of May. The third event will be the 15th to the 17th of August. And the final event is in the 26th to the 28th of September.
Oh my God.
We are, I think, one of the last big festival LARPs running at that point. Again, though, we looked at the weather, and honestly, it stays warm well into October now. So yeah, we're happy with that spread. It does leave a bit of a gap in the middle, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because it can get super hot. It can still get hot in August for sure, but yeah, we're missing out the middle there to avoid some of that super hot stuff. Equally, I think it's kind of fun that you get to start your year a little earlier with some LARP, get 2 events in, and then have a big development period in between as you sort of devise your plans for the second half of the year, and then you can come back in and really enjoy it.
Oh my God. Thank you so much to both of you for coming to talking to me, because like I'm so excited now. I want to do everything. And I'm so glad that like details are starting to come out, because I know that at Comic-Con you had I was listening to the talk, and it was like you had stuff in place, but obviously it's still a work in progress, right? So like anything that we've talked about, there's still a little bit of ability to change until next year, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're working at such a pace that like we go from being unsure about a concept to confirming that's the design within about 2 weeks.
Wow.
So like it's obviously, like, you know, a lot of the writing and groundwork is done before those 2 weeks, but that's really when it comes to like the director level of approval and stuff, where we're going through everything that's been written and done by writers and design mechanics and things like that. That's where we'll go from like, yeah, this concept sounding like the one we're going to go with, and we might want to talk about it to people publicly, but also, you know, it might completely change, and I'm sure that will happen. But yeah, I think we're just getting to the position now where just every few weeks we're going to be able to confirm new things, and that's going to be the same with Nation Briefs. We're getting some professional artists in. We've been selecting them literally over the last few days to start designing Nation Briefs. Sorry, like Nation, just nice little key arts and things like that designed so we can put out, when we put our Nation Brief out, we're going to have a really just nice sort of, looks like it comes out of a D&D handbook or something, you know, a nice page where you can read about the nation with a nice piece of art in the background. Yeah, it's going to be lovely. We hope people will really enjoy the production level and the amount of work and money that's going into this. We hope we can continue to do it and put on a good show for everybody.
Yeah, and how many people are you thinking of having per event?
We have, you know, we're very scalable. We're designing based on the idea of scaling quite rapidly if we need to. Our target for our first event, you know, is around 2,000 people.
Wow.
So we've had some big conversations about this. Obviously, it's not an easy thing to work out. But I mean, we haven't really gone live with that much yet, apart from like you can sign up for a newsletter and the odd post on Facebook, and that's already given us enough of an indication that I think we'll hit those numbers. We know we may exceed it, we may fall short. Either way, the game we put on will remain largely the same experience for people. And we've got plenty of budget and safety nets and things like that in place to allow us to adjust, take time to listen to players, to adjust the game if needs be, to really engage people and get to the point where everything's running nicely. This isn't like a Hail Mary by any means. We're fully planning on running all 4 of our events in year 1 and trying to put on the best LARP we can. I think we're really confident.
I think as well, like, I mean, Nick and I, when we went to Wome sort of last weekend, you go into a brand new system and you expect there to be teething issues. Like I said earlier, like it's not going to be perfect out the bat, right?
No.
So it's taking that thing from the conceptual ideas to the reality and adapting as players interact and how they change the game, right?
Yeah, and as game makers, we push forward and put the effort in to be as earnest as we can to try and do the most for our players too, for the people that are allowing us to have that teething process. Because of course, as we all know, it's a collaborative process. This building these LARPs, building these communities, building these stories, all comes out of the community and the people that choose to engage with it. So but we will try. We will not rip people off. We will do our best, honestly. Like that's all we can promise.
I think just listening to you guys over the last like hour and 45 minutes now, it's like you understand your own strengths by the sounds of it, and then you are also delegating to people who have more experience. So like
exactly,
you're with the security and the tent hire and things like that, you've really brought in people who have a wider range of experience with larger scale events, and I'm just so excited to see it come into reality.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we're just really lucky that we have not only the budget but also like that kind of community outreach, because all of us being in so many different games, that we can get the best people we can possibly find for every aspect of the game that we want to make. So I think we're really lucky to have like as many friends as we do have, and such incredibly talented people working on this.
Absolutely.
I'm very confident in the fact that I'm going to say I think this is going to be the best LARP in the world. And I think from the stuff that I've been telling you about in the car on the 6-hour drive up to Scotland and back for Worm, there's a lot of really interesting, really fun stuff that we're going to be talking about when it comes to like.
Wait, I thought this was the first time you were hearing about all this.
I mean, I may or may not have told Nick that the only way he was getting a lift up to Glasgow was if he gave me a little bit of gossip and details. So I'm so excited. Just one for something new. But also one for something that comes out of so many experienced people's collective imagination, and things like that. I think it's going to be so good. And I don't want to put too much pressure on you guys, because obviously like it's a game.
It's already on. I think at this point we're used to it now. It's already on.
But so we spoke about the website and things like that. So where can people find the sign up sheet for sort of things like that, and where can they follow you guys online for more details?
Well, it'd be Menhir's Fate. If you Google that, we're pretty high up. Menhir is spelled MENHIRSFATE. That's menhirsfate.com. And also you can search that on Facebook and you can find a group there. We will be on Discord as well. But honestly, if you go to the website, sign up for email updates, it says marketing opt-in. I think that's because that's a website design requirement. I'm not entirely sure whether you have to click that or not to get updates, but I realized this the other day. I was just like, it's definitely like it's something we have to do for professional standards to have a marketing opt-in. You won't be sent any marketing, I don't think. If you are,
there's definitely no marketing. It's literally just us. Like there's nothing else going on.
Just you can opt in for marketing to be extra sure, because that just, I don't know, maybe that gives us the right to send you stuff. But what that box is you fill it in for updates, and that would be a great way for us to reach out to you when we do crew call, when we have updates about the nations. But obviously we know the LARP community is very sort of on Facebook, so you can also, we're also going to be putting all of that out on Facebook. We're going to have a YouTube channel, which we'll be putting out content. Probably not, like I say, until the latter part of the year right now. We'll get out as soon as we can, but nation briefs, costume briefs, then we film it, then we edit it, then we have to write it. It's everything's coming out as and when we can do it. It's like when you go to Wagamama's and they say, it all comes out when it's done. It's just like, okay, right. So
all good things take time, right? And you don't want to rush anything and release something that's subpar.
Exactly. Like we really it's really tricky to make that decision sometimes when you're like, oh my God, people are ravenous for this. We should just put it out now. But at the same time, we want to give people the feel that we're making good choices. We're taking the time to refine these things. And then when it is finally released, they feel like it's something, properly considered. And also just, I love making things look fancy. So I want to put some art on it. And that takes time too. Takes time too, basically.
I want it out as quick as possible.
But
how about we make it look professional and nice? I guess so. But the people want it.
You guys are just like, you just want to share the world at this point.
Well, I mean, because frankly, Nick says this, and he's probably right. He's like, LARPers, they care about the game. They care about hearing about what they're going to be doing. They'd rather just hear about it now a lot of the time rather than be like presented it in a nice package, which I totally understand. Like I love a little on the side, like, so how's that system work? Oh, it works like this. You're like, oh, nice. But yeah, essentially we want to wrap it up a little bit fancy, just because it's nice for everyone. We employ some excellent artists, and people can really get a look and feel for how we're trying to do things.
Yeah, but I'm sure what you will do is dangle the metaphorical carrot in front of everyone's face by doing occasional sort of podcast
teasers.
Interviews and streams and things like that. And
exactly.
as you release details, I'd love to have you guys back on just to talk through everything and make sure that everything's like, I'm just so excited.
Sure. I mean, it'd be great to do that with you and a bunch of other creators as well within the scene. We really want to make sure that all of the awesome creators, like you mentioned Yeti earlier, he's been a really great help in organising us and creators and stuff together to Comic-Con and things like that.
I'm so excited. I think there's only one thing to say to close everything out, and that's that I'll see you guys in Haven.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.